Time for Task and Fantuz.
Hello, Ticat fans. Welcome to the Task and Fantuz show. I'm Luke Tasker. I'm joined every week by Andy Fantuz. Andy, you're now the youngest broadcaster, or the most rookie broadcaster for the Hamilton Tigers the last couple weeks. How was the game last night, man? Andy got to call the Ticats versus the Red Blacks late last night.
Yeah, I had some big shoes to fill, but it was a lot of fun doing the color with RJ. And you know how it is. A guy like him, he makes it really, really easy and the transition seamless. So, but I love just calling the games that happens and giving my perspective on it. And I hope our listeners enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, RJ
Where are you right now, Task?
I am up in Alaska here, man. I left this past weekend to come up here for 2 weeks. My sister's getting married in Anchorage, actually in Big Lake, Alaska. She lives in Anchorage this weekend. So I got the family, all the kids, all my extended family, my parents and everybody up here for 2 weeks. So it's honestly, it is not easy, man. It was a 6.5-hour flight from Chicago O'Hare to Anchorage. And I'm afraid I might stay up here forever now just to avoid that flight. I don't know if I can do that again. Like my kids were, I mean, it's understandable. My kids are 1.5 and 3 years old, 3.5 years old. The twins are 1.5, but so, you can only expect so much from them. And it was, we got in at 1 a.m. Eastern time in Anchorage, which is 9 p.m. there. And it was a full on family meltdown, dude. Like, it was bad. I'm not going to lie. And honestly, I might just make a new life up here so I don't have to do that flight back. That's how scared I am. But at least I have 2 weeks to prep for it.
Wow. That's, yeah, I know how hard it is to travel with one child, let alone 3. So I can only imagine. Yeah. We just booked something, restrictions pending for the spring, and we'll have 2 kids by then. So it's going to be a nice 5-hour flight. It'll be interesting. But tell me about Alaska. What's it like up there? I've never been.
It's very cool. It's actually freezing cold right now already. But I've been told that this is this is out of season. It shouldn't be this cold yet, but we're getting very, very cold weather here. I think it's actually like 32, which would be it's almost around 0 degrees Celsius outside right now. It was up into the 50s, I guess something around 10, I think, yesterday. But there's a real chill in the air. My sister, her house is just outside of Anchorage, woke up with snow on the ground our first morning in Alaska. And so they say it's unusual for this time for September, but this is all I know so far. So we're up. We pretty much left the 30 degrees Celsius heat in Buffalo, Hamilton, what was the last couple of weeks at times, to come up to winter in Alaska already. The interesting thing right now in Anchorage, they get down to like 4 hours of sunlight on the shortest days of the year, and then vice versa in the winter, in the summer, there's just about 4 hours of darkness. But it's cool because the darkness is just like just like a setting sun almost for most of the hours. There's not really a true darkness at the shortest nights of the year. Unfortunately, though, for just the experience of it, we actually are hitting it in this September month. It's actually kind of regular daytime hours here. So it's that early fall. We have the sun is coming up for us like something of a regular time, like 8 o'clock. It's just kind of coming up right now, actually. And then we have sort of a regular evening. But Alaska's been awesome, man. We went down and fished yesterday south of Anchorage on the peninsula here. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I could just tell you that I caught, an 18-inch rainbow trout, but I didn't pull anything out of the river, actually. So this time of year, this is a little gruesome. I didn't realize this. Every single salmon comes back up the river to die in the same river that it was born in, right? And so we're at the time of year right now where we're floating down fishing for rainbow trout, and underneath us on the bed of the river, and it's clear, amazing water, but there's just hundreds of dead salmon just in the bottom of the river. Like, it looks terrible, but it's natural. There's nothing wrong, but it's like honest, literally I pulled up 2 dead fish and caught nothing that was living. So that was my Alaskan fishing story for you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What about the stars? Are they any different up there?
We were told
night?
the night we pulled in that the aurora borealis was in view, but it must have been in like the middle of the night or something. We haven't seen it, but that would be cool if we got a chance to see that while we're up here.
Yeah, no kidding. I always enjoy stargazing in all the different places in the world I've been. And
yeah, dude, you would love I mean, I know you're the safari man, right? So I pulled into my sister's house. This is not a joke. Like, there was just 2 moose standing in her front. It's not, she doesn't live like out in she's not in the city center. So she's a little bit out of the downtown area, but and her neighborhood's surrounded by trees, but there was just 2 moose just standing in the road, like as if it were, in Buffalo we have deer just everywhere. And it was the same. It's the same thing. There's just moose all over the place here.
Very cool. Very cool. I love to check it out sometime.
Well, next week for Task and Twos, I'll still be here, so I'll fill you in on the next saga of the Alaska adventure when we meet again next week. But so tell me more about the broadcast. What did you find? What was the most? Did you find it to be easier or harder than you expected?
I think it was pretty much in line with what I expected. There was, I remember talking to you about it when you first started, and there's no shortage of things to talk about during the play. Unfortunately, your first game and that game was a bit of a dud in a sense. Not a lot of exciting plays, but still, it's great to break it down. And I found the biggest challenge for me was, realizing that the listeners are not watching the game as well. They're just listening. So to make sure you articulate what you're seeing instead of just analyzing what you and the viewers or listeners are seeing. Yeah. So, it's different than sitting on your couch and explaining the game to somebody that's sitting next to you. Right. So you gotta verbally kind of draw that picture, paint that picture with your words. So that was one thing I had to, I think I could improve on, but I liked it. I really enjoyed it, to be honest. So
I know it is fun. I mean, I find that it's not the kind of work that exhausts you, right? Like after the game, I feel energized, after doing a radio broadcast, you're kind of, you watch the game so intently that it's easy to get like sort of excited, but you're very much into it, right? Like you're watching it so much more closely than you would, just watching as a fan, from a bar or from your house or anything like that. You're really, really into it. And yeah, I found the same thing. It's just, you could pick a number of things to talk about after each play, and kind of just finding out or thinking about what would be the most interesting thing to the listener. That's sort of a fun puzzle to put together as well, and see how entertaining you can make the broadcast, or how informative. Well, I'm excited to we're gonna be driving around Alaska nothing's really close around here, so we have a multiple long drives on our trip. I'm gonna listen to your the recording of you and RJ's broadcast, so I can see how it went for you. I think RJ just makes it so easy on me when I'm in there. Like the guy is just unbelievably professional and just so crisp at the ins and outs with whatever commercials or bringing it into the half, into the start of the game. He's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, he sure is. Between him and Louis, we've got a good foundation there with the Ticats Audio Network. We're just kind of filling in to
100%
add some color, but Louis kind of killing it as well, and sort of a day to day, just manning the whole thing. So holding down the fort. But
yeah, he is.
It makes it easy to work with those guys. And for me, another thing that I've noticed is, since starting this back at the start of the season, I certainly watch the other games with a sort of a different ear. And even if I'm watching other sports, listening to listening to the play-by-play and the color more intently, more, with more of a learning hat on, as far as the delivery and not just focused on the game itself, but more about the delivery of the play-by-play and the color. So it's been a fun football season, like in no matter what league you're watching or what sport I'm watching. It's
Absolutely.
been a different eye and ear towards the game. So it's been a big learning experience.
Yeah, it's fun to do that too. I'm the same way. Now that we're doing this, I'm listening to other color commentators and thinking about, that was a good point, or what I would have said a little bit differently, or how I would do it. You're so right too. The way that I think about it, it's very hard for the radio broadcast, because I would love to, because it's like a receiver. Like when we were in receiver meeting rooms, we're drawing up the coverages and the contours. Like I just think that's how my brain is working when I'm looking at a defense. I'm looking at the triangles on the outsides of the field with the corner, the halfback, and the low player, the Sam or the low half or anything like that. And I'm identifying those triangles in the coverage. I would love to be able to draw that, how they can do like with the yellow on on the monitor for the TV broadcast, and for the radio, like you totally have to, like you said, paint that in a very different way. And if you get too in depth with trying to, identify those kinds of things, sometimes I wonder if it can just be a little bit more confusing on the radio broadcast. So you gotta find your medium with that or your method for the medium that works good. But yeah, it's just exciting, man. I love being a part of it. The Ticats Audio Network has been an exciting new thing for the Ticats as an organization this year, and we've got a nice crew of football enthusiasts who are. I think we're doing a good job painting the Ticats 2021 season so far.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a lot of fun. So what's the big plans for you for the rest of the week here?
So we're in Anchorage right now.
The wedding's Anchorage, on the weekend?
Weddings this weekend, yeah. So
yeah,
Anchorage, if you haven't been here before, I actually would make it. Now I don't know population numbers or anything, but just the feel of the city. It's something like a Hamilton or a Buffalo. It's something like that mid-sized city. The difference is that there's no real suburbs. I mean, you're very, very quickly into just state parks, national parks. I mean, you can get into wilderness in 20 minutes from Anchorage, so it's just a really cool little city center. My sister works downtown here. They have a house outside the city, but then the wedding is in a place called Big Lake this weekend. I don't know much about it, but it's a beautiful wedding venue. We're staying in it's like a huge not Airbnb, but something like that, like a huge like kind of resort house that sleeps 25 people or something like that, and we're all staying there for the wedding. And then my brother-in-law Jake is from a little town called Talkeetna that has 800 people in it, and so we're going out to Talkeetna next week, where all kinds of stuff, all kinds of things, fishing excursions, hikes, all kinds of stuff like that. They're avid outdoorsmen, my brother-in-law's family, and so we're just gonna spend some time there and then head back to Anchorage late next week. So we're doing a full Alaskan tour, man. It's awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we'll miss you next weekend at the home game, but pretty exciting win for the Cats last night. Excellent defense performance.
That's going to be the story this year. It's the defense. It's just unbelievable. You see you talk about everybody, every single player in the secondary name gets brought up at some point during the game because they're just all making plays. And Simone's scoring touchdowns this year, and the front four is, just been impactful in every game. I mean, it's just awesome to see. They're going to carry the show for a while, aren't they?
Well, honestly, from my perspective, watching the full field there were no open receivers for Ottawa that entire game, and so there was nothing to be had there. That was the most lopsided game, even regardless of the lackluster performance of the offense. that I think I've seen in recent history. I mean, there was just nothing for that Ottawa offense to do. And, you got to realize that Ottawa has been struggling against many teams this year. So you don't want to put too much stock into that. But boy, I'd be frustrated if I was, breaking down that game as an Ottawa receiver or anyone on the offense. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I think a lot of teams are going to see that against the Ticats defense. But now, I mean, the Ticats set up for a number of home games in a row now, right? And they got a long week going into it after what was, 4 games in 17 days or whatever. I mean, and now they got the winning record. I mean, they're sitting in a nice spot. Very excited to see it, and we got to just wonder offensively how the Ticats are going to progress through some of this sort of, just underwhelming performances. But it's nice to have complimentary football when you're dealing with some adversity on one side of the ball, to have solid play out of the defense and special teams at times, and exciting stuff. I mean, Ottawa turned the ball over. Well, it's a little confusing because the stats, statistically, they turn the ball over 8 times, but the turnovers on drives and at times in the game when they're forcing things, it skews a little bit, but honestly, I mean, turnovers and explosive plays, that toxic ratio, offense and defense play into that. It's not just an offensive statistic, right? And so that toxic ratio was kind of off the chart for the Ticats last night.
So I think we need to talk about Nate Bahar getting in there as the third string quarterback. So Dominic Davis throws a pick 6 and hurts himself trying to run down and make a tackle. And then Nichols hurt his wrist a little bit later in the game trying to run the ball. And just like the Ticats, though, they only had 2 quarterbacks on the dress roster. So that's not a situation you want to be in. Would you feel confident going in at quarterback?
You know that you and I, for all of our careers, we're volleying as to say which one of us would be the emergency quarterback. So I think that's so interesting because at a moment, fans like Ottawa fans were like, "Oh no," it's like, "Oh my goodness, how much worse is this going to get?" But if it was me in that moment, this is your time to shine, man. Like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole time. There are 2 things. This is what I wanted to do. I wish I would have been able to take some snaps at quarterback in the CFL for whatever reason. You don't want injuries and stuff, but just I wish that could have happened in some interesting way. I mean, I've told you 100 times that my favorite play of my career was in Ottawa in the Eastern Final when I threw the bomb downfield to you, who caught it, and then we drove in for a touchdown. That was so sweet. That was the best. I mean, I was looking forward to that play all week. Tommy Condell called it at a great time, and we made it work. I mean, that's just fun stuff. That's one thing I always wanted to do, was to be able to get some sneaky reps at quarterback. And then the second thing, I wanted to always make a drop kick. We were always practicing and messing around on the field and just kind of horsing around out there. But by the end of my career, I had a nice drop kick down, and I was always looking for a moment to do that. But so CFL, man, I just to have that chance, I think it's just awesome. Although for Ottawa fans, obviously, it was not a bright moment.
Yeah, we got to make some personnel moves, I think. And
that Jalen Ackland is now he claims to be the emergency quarterback for the Ticats. Now he's taking over your and I's self-proclaimed title that we also self-proclaimed.
Well, I'm not surprised if you kind of described him as the White Lightning junior. So one very similar to both of us. So no, it's exciting though. It's that they're on they have some good momentum here. 4 out of 5 games victories, and only 1 point away from that being 5 out of 5. Or 2 points away. So it's a good spot to be in, like you said, going into the second half of the season with 5 more home games, with a lot of divisional games still to play. So it's all going to come down to if they can get that home field by the bye and the home field Eastern Final. You got 2 games at Tim Hortons Field to win the Grey Cup. that's a
How
good
about
spot
that?
to be in.
Yeah, that would be amazing, man. The Grey Cup finally in Hamilton, and don't want to look too far ahead to that, but boy, that's the ultimate goal, and there's a lot of games to get through until then. But Hamilton is set up to take over the East if it's in the cards. And there was years where you and I were playing, Andy, where if the offensive production, if the stat sheet looked like last night's game, there's a good chance that we weren't going to have come out on top for that. And for 2 weeks in a row, they've been able to just manage to do their job on the offensive side of the ball, and the defense has sort of, carried the day for them. So it's kind of great if you're still winning games while you're figuring some things out. I mean, you can just imagine what it's going to look like if you start to get in rhythm and get in step on offensive side of the ball, and then it's going to be a really, really tough team to beat, no matter who you are. So there's some weeks left here while the Ticats are on a winning streak still, but where they could maybe just sharpen this up as we head into the last parts of the season, and probably be a favored team by that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think last night, as far as the quarterback and receiver play, it was not as crisp as the week before. There were some plays that were left on the field and some miscommunication. So I hope they're pretty critical in their meeting rooms moving into next week and clean some of those areas up, because you can't expect to have that kind of offense performance, like you said, and continue to get the W's week after week. I would have liked to see them try to expand the playbook a bit more with Watford, because you never know when or if Dane and Jeremiah are going to come back. But regardless, you want to just improve all your quarterbacks and your team as a whole. So, I was hoping that once they felt pretty comfortable in that game, they would open it up a bit and really work on progressing that offensive production. But it just didn't happen. You can understand why in the pouring rain and just the way the game was going. But still, there's going to be some times where they're going to need that offense to click. So
yeah, it's a long week now too, so they're going to go into some more. How those. I mean, I remember the long weeks for us. You just do. You have more time you really actually break down the last game, and then you actually turn over to 3 full practice days prepping for the next team. Where in the short week, sometimes you just ditch that film overview day of the last game. Sometimes you just ditch that and you go right into the prep for the next team. And that's not, you always want to learn and break down what you did and talk about the things that went good and bad in the game. And you miss that in a short week sometimes. And so this might be the week where Watford's playbook can expand a little bit, all to be told. But well, that's cool, man. Let's call this one, and let's pick this up next week, where I think we'll just have another Task and Two show prior to the next game. So that'll be fun. That'll be cool, and I'll fill you in on my Alaska adventures, and we'll be well on our way to prep for the next game. So, Two is good stuff.
Right
man.
On, brother.
Alrighty. Well, have a good day.
Yeah, enjoy your family and say hi to everybody for us.
Yeah, I sure will. I will, and I'll talk to you guys later on. Fans, thanks. Task and Two show every week. We'll see you guys next week.